Hi, everybody. I'm Valerie Green, relationship coach from coachvaleriegreen.com, and welcome to the Soul Shaking Love online training. And today I am really excited to be interviewing Liza Witonis. Hello, Liza.
Hi.
Hello, and I'm so happy to have you.
Oh, I'm so happy to be here.
Wonderful. And exactly because we're going to talk about her topic, which is wealth is yours, which is so exciting for everyone, I'm sure. And so I'll tell you a little bit about Liza before we get started. She is the go-to personal wealth coach for women and entrepreneurs who want to get control of their finances once and for all. So diving deep into the body, mind, soul, and emotion, Liza helps her clients heal their money relationship, which is wonderful because we have a relationship with everything, right?
Mm-hmm.
And establish real wealth building strategies to fulfill their lives.
Yes.
So going beyond basic budgets and age-old advice, Liza helps her clients create habits and attitudes that produce real wealth and lasting change.
Mm-hmm.
And being on her own wealth journey for the last 5 years, Liza has increased her quality of life by having the best relationship that she ever has with money, including conversations with her husband, which I can't wait to ask her about,
Mm-hmm.
and paying off her $200,000 in debt, which is amazing. And so now she teaches others how to do the same. And she works with clients one-on-one, online, and in person. And she is also launching an online course called Wealth is Yours, which I look forward to talking about as well.
Me too.
Thank you so much, Liza.
Thank you, Valerie. It's my pleasure.
Yeah, so I'm first of all just curious about your story. What was the most important thing that you can inspire women with how you paid off your debt and really took control of your money story?
Yeah. So when I first started 5 years ago, I was actually a teacher and I was working 2 part-time jobs. So I was working 3 jobs, and I literally, if you can see little ears pop up here because my cat's sitting in my lap. I was working 3 jobs, and I literally was running around like a chicken with its head cut off because I couldn't even make ends meet for my student loans, for my bills. And my husband and I had just gotten married in August, and we were looking to buy houses, and life was just absolutely crazy. And I didn't know whether I was coming or going. And ultimately, when we went to go buy our house, I discovered that we weren't able to talk about money. And my parents had just went through a divorce, and I said to myself, look, I don't want this to be us, and I don't want money to be any excuse for any of us. And so we decided to take a financial course. It was Financial Peace University through Dave Ramsey.
Yeah.
And great strategies and everything. But the best advice that I can give is that I just decided that I wanted to do it, and we took off with it, and we decided together that we were going to do it. Not one, but both doing it at the same time. And it has completely shifted our whole life. 5 years ago, we didn't even know that we wanted a family, and now we have a 2-year-old daughter. And our life is just so different than it was even 5 years ago.
Yeah. I'm
And
so
our
inspired by that.
Yeah, and our relationship truly, which is amazing.
Yeah. And I mean, I want to speak more about how you work with people. I'm just so inspired by how you and your husband decided this together.
Yeah.
And so tell me how it's impacted your relationship that you
Absolutely.
have
Yeah.
really, gotten empowered financially together.
Yeah, absolutely. So when we first started, we couldn't talk about money. And it was always the elephant in the room and the wedge between us. And security for females or feminine energies, no, money for, hang on, let me rephrase that. When feminine energies think about money, it's security and it's safety. And so I would always bring it up in the conversation, and hoping that it would provide a little bit more security going through the process of buying a house. Our house that we actually purchased was foreclosure. And so there was no guarantee whatsoever through the whole process. And so I was always seeking for a little bit more security through that. And I sought it through the money conversations. And my husband grew up in a household where he never spoke about money. Like money was never spoken between his parents, between him and his parents. And so you could imagine how those two worlds kind of combined into a marriage. And at the beginning, it wasn't easy, but deciding together that we wanted to change our life together and that we didn't want this to become an issue, that, yes, was easy to decide, to say, yes, this is what we want. And from there, it has only compounded in the sense of getting easier and easier and easier. We do not fight about money at all. We actually giggle about it and we talk about it daily, which is super fun. And it really takes our relationship to the next level of intimacy because there's safety, there's trust, there's love in the conversation, and it's never a point of contention for us. And it took a lot of work of us being vulnerable towards each other, having arguments through it at the beginning, and honoring ourselves, but also honoring each other, and then going from there and learning, and then trying again and trying again and trying again until we're at the point where we are now.
Yeah, that's so inspiring. And I'm sure that everyone watching or listening is inspired by how you really came out of this closer and as a team.
Yeah, man, I don't know if we would have made the gains if it was just a one-sided battle.
Yeah.
And well, paying off $200,000 in 5 years, and just this past year, from October to this coming October, we've paid off over $54,000, and there's no way we could have done that with one. Maybe we could have.
Yeah, I want to inspire the single women who are listening to.
Oh yeah,
you can take responsibility for your own money story, and I want to get to that later. But since we're on that thread, I want to ask you, if women are listening to this and they're married and they're fighting about money, or they don't talk to their partner about money and they're seeking that security, what are some tips to start talking about it with your partner?
Right. And I do want to clarify that I wouldn't have been able to do it if I was in a partnership and I had said yes and he had said no.
Yeah.
So just to clarify that. So single women, you definitely can do this.
yeah, exactly. And I want to get to questions later that pertain to both. Yeah. But since we're on the thread, I'm really curious about how, like, if someone's listening to this and they're like, great, I want to talk about money, but I don't know how to bring it up, or he doesn't want to talk about it, or he should start a conversation.
Right. And I think there's a common just understanding between the two of feminine energies typically are seeking security and safety, and masculine energies are typically searching for their pride and providing for the family or for the couple or for the relationship. And so with that understanding, it allows you to go into the conversation with a different mindset, in the sense of, okay, so this is what I'm thinking. And when you're listening, it's not critiquing. So my first advice is truly to set the timer. Set a timer on your phone for it to be 10 minutes. And start talking about something that is non-judgmental. So maybe it's a simple question as to, hey, when you were growing up, how was money talked about in your household? There's no argument from there because it's just telling a story. And so that story allows you on the other end to listen and to hear what types of things might have happened or did happen, and what types of events happened in the household, so that you can understand a little bit more. And then doing vice versa, sharing your story so that your partner can hear that as well. And so I would really pick a topic, not our credit card bill is late. That would not be the first topic I would talk about, but pick a topic that is non-judgmental and that it's purely a story.
Yeah, exactly. And then it sounds like what you're saying is that if you go into that only with the agenda of getting to know the person, not with the agenda of trying to lead them somewhere or
Right.
convincing them,
Right.
of that your story is better or whatever. But really kind of getting that connection first, and that understanding is a way to kind of break the ice
Right.
approaching the topic.
Right. And then from there, what I would recommend is really diving into your values individually and as a partnership. And so, individually, what do you see in your life that is most important? Like, is it experiences? I have a quote right on my computer screen, success is living below our means happily. Because
Mm.
that's what it means to us. And so really diving in, and that's an opportunity for both of you to work individually and then work together so that you can figure out your joint values as a couple.
Mm-hmm.
And then from there, there's other steps you can take on the journey of talking about money and going from there.
Yeah, exactly. It sounds like once you have an idea of each other's values, and values are what makes life meaningful to you.
Right.
Like we were saying, security, or some people value providing, some people value family and
Yeah.
having fun experiences. And the more you talk about what the money provides, the less you're talking about making each other wrong for how you're spending it, or not spending it.
Right, exactly. And it puts the understanding behind the spending.
Right,
Right.
exactly. So that I imagine then when you go to make a plan together, it serves what you've understood about each other's values rather than just like something that you should do. And
Right, exactly. No shoulding yourself.
right, or putting pressure on each other. Yeah, that makes a lot of
Exactly.
sense.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
Exactly.
and so let's go to questions that apply to both people in relationship and people that are single.
Yes.
So you talk a lot about your money story, and I know that your free gift is around rewriting your money story.
Hmm.
So talk more about how people's money story holds them back,
Yes,
if
absolutely.
it's based in fear and scarcity.
Yes, this is like my favorite part of the whole coaching program is like really diving in here. So, um, I strongly believe that we have our own money DNA already part of our body, and I like to call those imprints. And so the imprints that happen to us are good, bad, or neutral. It doesn't matter. They've happened to us and they're ingrained. Oftentimes, we don't even realize that they're actually part of our body because they live in the subconscious of our brain. And so we're living out our life with these beliefs that we've witnessed, that we've seen, that we've heard, that we've watched throughout our whole life, and even potentially reheard during ancestral stories or grandma and grandpa. And having those be part of our subconscious. And so now in our life, we're going through life and we're seeing these same patterns come up, these same things come up of not having enough money for, like me, not having enough money for my student loans, not having enough money for the electric bill when it was coming due. And those same patterns keep coming up. And maybe it's not having enough money, but maybe it's I save, and then I spend all of it, right? And so
Mhm.
it's all about realizing and uncovering those imprints in your body and in your history and bringing them to the surface into your conscious so that you are aware of them. And then in that moment, you are able to use the knowledge that you know now to shifting those stories so that they're working for you and not working against you anymore.
Mm. Yeah,
And
that makes
some of
so much
this,
sense.
yeah, and some of the things aren't necessarily bad things either. Like there's great things, and then there's some other like good, bad, neutral. Like all of it plays such an important role there. There's not one that's weighted more than another.
Yeah, it sounds like what you're saying is that once you make this story, like it's kind of unconscious, and once you make it conscious, that's the key to shifting it.
Right. The monsters are always scarier in the closet until you see
Right.
them and they're bright purple and one-eyed and super cute and polka dots.
Right,
You
right,
know?
right. Exactly. Or even if they're still scary, I feel like they're workable, right?
Exactly. They're
Um,
not as big as what you saw them or thought that you saw them before. And so it's
right.
really,
Yeah. I mean, because if you're like, oh my God, I mean, I imagine for you 5 years ago when, you were in all this debt, that the fear of looking at it made it seem like a big ugly monster. But then once you actually looked at it, it was like, oh, okay, we just need to make a plan to address this.
right. And I can't tell you how many times we address that plan and like start chipping away at it, because I think that's one of the biggest things is oftentimes when we're in our situations, we feel like we're in the middle of the storm, and my ability as a coach is to be able to see above the storm, and when the lightning hits, I navigate you to the quickest path.
Right.
So even though you feel like, and maybe it's not a storm, maybe it's just, hey, you know what? I want to change this, but I don't know how. How do I get there?
Right. Yeah.
And that's the opportunity where I get to step in, but it really starts with looking at the habits and the patterns that are already ingrained and part of those imprints in the DNA of you, and seeing how they're serving you and how they're not, and then going from there and navigating through so that you can rewrite your wealth story.
Yeah, that's so powerful. And I imagine also looking at it can be pretty scary or bring up a lot of emotions. So, how does money relate to our emotions, and how do you help people to handle whatever comes up?
Absolutely, yeah. Definitely very emotional. And oftentimes I just hold the space for them to feel the feels. And I think with money, we often try so hard to just tuck our emotions away in our back pocket and just say, oh, okay, I don't want to feel that way, I'm tucking it. But really, that's serving more harm than good, because it's almost like you're planting the seed, and anytime a situation or another thought comes up, you're like gardening that seed, and so it
Mm.
starts to grow bigger and bigger and bigger. And through that situation of, if something emotional comes up, which it probably is, because a lot of times we attach so many emotions to money, um, I just hold the space and I help guide them through to finding an anchor so that they feel safe the next time they think of that thought
Mm.
or that feeling. And the other thing is really teaching my clients that money truly is energy. The purpose of it is to come in and to go out, and there's supposed to be a perfect flow of money coming in and money coming out. And I like to use the visual of, I think we've
Mm.
talked about this before, Valerie, of the light switch, right? So if you're in a room and you're turning on the light switch, whether the light switch is on or off, the energy is flowing no matter what. When it's on, the room gets very bright. When it's off, the energy stops. And so really, in the universe that we live in, money is meant to flow to us and it's meant to leave. But oftentimes when we have the emotions of scarcity mindset or fear or embarrassment and shame, we're often clenching our fists and holding money so
Mm.
tight that we're actually shutting the switch off. And
Right.
so money doesn't flow in and money doesn't flow out. And that's not a great feeling, to feel that clench. Instead of being able to hold your palms open and say, okay, I'm ready to receive and I'm ready to give.
Mm. That's such a beautiful metaphor, that it's just about turning the light on, because the electricity is always available, at least, in the first world.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Yes.
Yeah. And I want to go a little bit more into what you said about anchoring in safety,
Yes.
because a lot of people are probably curious about what an anchor is. So
Yeah. Oh,
when
good.
you're
Thank you.
working with people and they're feeling their feelings and they're really strong, how do you help them also to feel safe with whatever the emotions are that are coming up?
Yeah. So the first step is to be aware, be aware of the thought or the emotion that's coming through. And then the next step is to sit with it. And when I say sit with it, that is really truly, in my opinion, the golden nugget in terms of this healing process of the cycle. Because if we don't sit with it, we're just tucking it in our back pocket and it's going to keep coming back, coming back, coming
Mm-hmm.
back. And so when we sit with that feeling, we ask ourselves, okay, so give me an example. If the feeling of, I'm drawing a blank right now, but trying to say, okay, I don't like going shopping, or I feel guilty when I buy food. Okay. Like, because I'm spending money and when I go to restaurants. Okay. So I feel guilty going to restaurants, I guess. And then, so being aware of that and saying, okay, I feel guilty when I go out to restaurants. Okay. Now let's sit with the feeling. Why do you feel guilty? What is the meaning behind that? Do you feel guilty because, you just don't want to spend the money? Do you feel guilty because you don't feel worthy of the purchase or the exchange at the restaurant? Do you feel guilty because you would rather make a homemade meal at your house? Do you feel guilty because it's not in alignment with you? And so really going through that thought process of, okay, but why? And then coming up with the sentences of as to why, and really diving deep and peeling back the layers of what the true meaning is. And then from there, going into the anchoring moment of what is a mantra, what is a feeling, what is a thing that you really want to get out of this situation. If it is going out to dinner, maybe this isn't the greatest example, but oftentimes a lot of people like to go out to dinner, and some may feel a little guilty. And so from there, it might be, I am worthy of the exchange that I'm giving right now. So really anchoring and stopping the cycle from going from the awareness to the feeling back up, and really giving it and anchoring to rewriting that wealth story in terms of rewiring it to saying, I am worthy of this exchange right now.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. So you're finding the core negative thought that's associated with the emotion or the negative experience that you're having with money. And that doesn't mean you go out to dinner every night, but if you find yourself there and you're feeling a strong emotion,
right,
going to what it sounds like you're saying is that you go to that core negative thought, and then you help to challenge whatever's not true about it, so that you can actually feel the truth of your own worthiness in that moment.
Right.
Which doesn't justify you doing all kinds of, activities that would cause the money to go out more than it comes in. Right. But whatever, it sounds like what you're saying is whatever you're experiencing in that moment, that there's always safety and security there that you can feel.
Right. And creating the path so that my client can see that for themselves, because they're literally laying that path as they go and rewriting it. So really thinking about those limiting beliefs that lead us to, like, well, if I spend everything in my savings, I'm not going to be able to get my savings back up. That's a limiting belief, right? And so really rewiring that thought process of, oh, okay, if I spend everything in my savings, that means that I'm open palms and I'm ready to receive more, so that I can fill it up even higher than what it was before. And so you're literally, here's a golden nugget, is that, with your wealth story and rewriting it, you have to have a solid foundation of habits and beliefs in order to build the house. And so with the foundation that you've been built, good, bad, neutral, some of the things need to be tweaked. And so with those old beliefs, you're literally taking out that brick and replacing it with the new solid belief of what you want your story to be, with those new habits, those new thoughts, those new patterns to support you, so that you can build the house and the wealth that you want.
Yeah, I think the house is a good metaphor.
Yeah, and the thing with it is that the foundation is always there, right? And so these limiting beliefs are always going to come up. However, they're not going to be a big brick. They're going to transition once you're doing the work and having it re-come up. They're going to transition to stones and then to little pebbles. And so it's going to be so much faster in terms of moving out and replacing it with where you want your story to go.
Yeah, that makes so much sense.
Mm-hmm.
And so if someone's listening to this saying, okay, I get all that. I get that it's about being with my emotions. I get that it's about looking at my old story and, challenging those limiting beliefs, and, building the blueprint for a new house. How do you actually sit down and make a plan? Where do you start?
Yeah. Good question. So if you are single or if you are with a partner, I would really start with why now? Why now is the time to shift everything? What is that internal desire, that internal inspiration that you're feeling? And then I would go to what is it in your life, which we already talked about, that is most important. So I loved what you said, Valerie, about values making life more purposeful and bringing meaning to life. And so really getting clear on what it is in your life that is most important to you. And if you have a partner, with your partner. If you have children too, if they're old enough, 9, 10, they can tell you what's important to them.
Mm,
It'd be
yeah.
really interesting to bring them into the mix too. But I would start with your why now, and then transition into what's most important right now, and what feels best for you in terms of bringing meaning into your life. And then from there, it gets into the logistics of listing out your expenses, and listing out the income, and going through and saying, okay, this is what I have, this is what's going out, this is what's coming in. So looking at mortgage or rent and your utilities and your car and your gas for your car, your heating for your house, all the way down to personal money. How much do you want? And my recommendation, and Dave Ramsey talks about this all the time, is setting the intention before the month starts, and really laying out a budget or a money plan, whatever the language that you want to use, so that it works for you during that month. If many years throughout our transition of since 2011, there have been months where we don't budget, and it gives such a different feeling to us, because we feel brings me back to the chicken with my head cut off, just like running circles, and trying so hard to keep up, and then money just disappears. Truly, like, it just goes. And I know where it is when I look at my bank statement and I see where it goes, but in the moment I have no idea. And with
Right.
a plan, you're setting the intention. Clarity is focus. And so you're allowing yourself to get super focused on where you're choosing for your money to go versus it just disappearing.
Yeah, I love that empowered way of looking at a budget, because I think a lot of people hear budget and go, oh, now I'm going to have to, you know, put rules on myself.
Right. And I think absolutely the opposite. And I'll share, my husband and I have gone on more trips now than we ever have in our whole life. Like the last 5 years, we paid cash for Costa Rica. We went to Australia for our honeymoon. We've gone to Pennsylvania. We've gone, to Las Vegas. There's been so many other trips. And so that's a limiting belief, that a budget is restrictive, because what it really does, it empowers you to take the clarity that you gain from it and apply focus so that you can achieve the goals that you want to, whatever that looks like, in a realistic way.
Right, exactly. You just get to decide where you want your money to go,
Mm-hmm.
and then figure out how to, either make more or spend less in other categories, so that you can have your money go to where you want.
Right, exactly. And it's going to where you want it, because you've already laid that foundation of what's important to you. So if you realize in that process that, something like cable isn't worth the $200 that you're paying for it, then guess what? You're going to most likely cancel it and then put $200 back into your budget so that you can put it somewhere else. And some may find that cable is super important, and that's okay, but maybe something else on the other end, like going out to eat, isn't as important as it is to other people.
Right, exactly. Yeah, and what would you tell people who feel like they look at their budget or their spending and it seems so tight that there is no room for what it is that they want?
Yeah, I would say, let me look.
Yeah,
I
I
would say,
like
let me
that.
look. And I would just say, go back and see if your purchases or your expenses align with your values.
I really like
Like,
that.
that's going to be the big anchoring point for you, so that you can, yeah, to make sure that it's Yeah, so I would just say really go back to those values and take a look at them and see if your expenses align with them.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the easiest ways, or one of the fastest ways to truly be able to put a little bit more money into your budget is looking at insurances. So
Mm-hmm.
auto and home insurance, and really have an insurance audit done. There, Xander Insurance Online is a great company where they calculate many different options for you, and it doesn't cost anything unless you switch. But oftentimes that is one of the first places that I
Mm.
start with my clients, and the lowest savings that my clients have experienced is $300 to $500, lowest, and it's gone. So $300, and then it's gone further than that.
Per month, you
So
mean?
for the year,
Okay.
yeah.
But yeah, I mean, that's still pretty significant when you're thinking about something like insurance. And what's the name of the company again?
Xander Insurance, Zander Insurance. And if you just Google them, they can look you up. If you're in the
Okay.
New England, Maine, New Hampshire, email me
Right.
personally, because I have a gentleman who is amazing, and he is just really changing every single client that I've given him. He's been able to find a better discount for them than what they're getting for their insurance, which is
Right.
amazing. So,
Yeah, that
mhm.
is amazing. And so I'm sure a lot of people are curious too about your online course because I know that that's, if they're
Yes.
considering working with you, that's a more inexpensive way of doing so.
Yes, I'm so excited. So my online course doors are going to open October 25th, and the course is launching. No, I just misspoke. Doors are opening September 25th, and the class is starting October 9th. So it's going to be a 10-week course where we are going to dive into everything that we just talked about. So really talking about rewriting your wealth story, allowing yourself the healing around any situation, habits, and patterns, and then really rebuilding that wealth story for you, and then implementing the practicalities and the strategies of a money plan and paying off debt. And so really working through that. It's going to allow 4 one-on-one coaching sessions through that, and then 6 group calls through that, where there will be support from the group itself, and also live teachings from me. Because on my journey, one of the biggest things for myself was to connect with people who are on the same journey as me, and like-minded
Mm-hmm.
people. And I think as entrepreneurs, and even as women, no matter where we are, we radiate towards certain people, and those are our people. And so I really wanted to provide the space and the community to help support other people so that they could connect with others to help them on this journey, including myself, but also, side by partners and peers.
Right, exactly. And especially if either you're in a relationship or your partner doesn't want to talk about money or you're single, we need other people surrounding us that are going through the same thing to feel like you're not alone in this.
Right, exactly. And being that accountability partner, whether it's through me or really finding the connection from someone else, is it truly has changed our lives. And we connected with another couple, which they're still our accountability partner, and anytime we have questions, we always reach out to them, and it's just in a loving, connecting way, because we understand where each of us are on our journey, and we're just there to support and help and guide. And I really want to, that right there is a golden nugget for us on our journey, is to have that
Mm.
support. And that's why I started my business, was because I didn't see it from any other like leader. I sought it out for myself. And so I want to be able to provide that for other people.
Yeah, that's so exciting.
Mm-hmm.
And so if people are interested in that online course, how do they learn more about it?
Yeah, so you can go to lizawatonis.com/wealth is yours, and you can read all about it. It's, like I said, it's a 10-week course that includes 4 one-on-one coaching sessions, and then 6 group coaching sessions, and it's for $19.97. So it's super, super, super exciting.
That is exciting, and I'll post the link to that below this video. And then I also know that you have a free gift that you're offering just so that people can get their feet wet with the type of work that you do.
Yes, absolutely. And if they want to hear how I coach, I do Facebook Lives on Facebook. They can find me at Liza Watonis, personal wealth coach. So come on
That's
over.
wonderful.
Or
Yeah.
Instagram at Liza Watonis. I do Insta stories with if you want to see a cute little girl, my little daughter, she's the
Oh.
parents on there. So,
Oh my God, that's so adorable. You have your daughter there with you, or she's just like,
oh, it's real life.
yeah, right, exactly. I'm sure
Yeah.
people can relate to that.
Oh,
So tell us a little bit more about the free gift that you're offering.
yes. So it's all about rewriting your wealth story. So there's a mini lesson that goes along with it. And it works you through a journal page that you could print out for yourself and for your partner if you'd like. And it really starts you thinking about, what is it that you want, why you want it, and how do you want to feel after you accomplish it. And so it really starts that values talk that I had spoken about at the beginning and in the middle. You
Exactly.
keep hearing it, so you know how important it is.
Yeah, no, I mean, I really agree. I do the same thing when I work with couples. I help them connect to their values because that's a way to get beyond whatever you're fighting about on the surface. In this case, it would be money, but there's many things that people fight about
Right.
and get to their values, what's really important to them, why is their position important to them, what's the deeper story around it, because then when you're listening to each
Right.
other, then you're not just fighting about whatever your position is, and
Right.
it's the same as money. And I imagine that works even if you're single, rewriting your money story, because then you're deeply connected to why it's important to you to do something different, and otherwise where does the motivation come from?
Exactly. And I think it's important for us to hear that calling and not to allow fear overcompensate the uncomfortableness in it, because there's a difference. And oftentimes we're so quick to categorize being uncomfortable as fearful and scared. But when you're uncomfortable, it means that you're ready to grow and that you are actually growing. And so sit with yourself and get quiet and see if, really ask yourself, get quiet and say, is this where I'm being called?
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
that's such a wonderful way to end, because it's not about telling people what to do. It's really about connecting them to their inner guidance. Is this where you're being called, and what's the next step?
Right, right. So if you're interested in that free gift, you can find it over at lizawatonis.com/free gift.
Yes. Easy to remember. And I'll also post the link below the
Perfect.
video and the audio.
Awesome.
And this has been super inspiring.
Yes. Thank you, Valerie, for this opportunity. And I really get so excited to help women and couples on this journey of wealth, because you do get to write your story. And I know that because I'm living proof, and my husband and I are living proof from how it was before to how it is now. And it just takes one word. It takes yes, from you just really honoring what it is that you're being called to do.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, I can just briefly agree with that with my own story, that I did Dave Ramsey's work years ago too. And when I really started keeping track of where my money was going and where I wanted it to go, I mean, it didn't happen overnight, but month by month, as I focused on building my business and, talking about these issues with my partner, we started to get creative about
Exactly.
ways that we could, access more money and be more resourceful.
It almost becomes like a game, right?
Yeah, right. It is like a game.
Yeah.
And if not, and just like a game, there's challenges and frustrations along the way, and, things that you seem to get stopped by. But ultimately, I always, make a money plan each month and keep track of it myself, because that's the only way that I feel empowered. And that's the only way that I actually know that I'm making the right decisions when I go out and do things. And if I'm not, then I take time to process my feelings about it. So that's why I wanted to interview you, because I know that this work is really effective. So thank you so much.
Right. Oh, you're very welcome. It was such a pleasure.
Yeah. And so I really look forward to seeing you next time, to staying connected. And I'll post those links below the video.
Awesome. And I'm excited to see the growth. So
Yay.
the commitment and the download from this. And please email me with your celebrations. I want to hear them.
Yeah. And your email is on your website, right?
It is. Yep.
Great. So
Awesome.
thank you.
Thank you, Valerie.